welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome. I hate it when the weekend's so boring and, we don't have a whole lot to talk about, on Monday morning. It was really tough putting together a show today, let me tell you. This is the Council of Future Conflict. My name is Scott, the proprietor of the Future Conflict channel. And today, this is episode 531. The bombs dropped, Homefront threat. And of course, I've got the council with me here to make me look good. Joe, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. I have a white monster, so all is well in my world.
You're like, I'm fueled up.
We had a bear sighting the other night. He came in the yard and saw Thor and decided he had an urgent appointment somewhere else. So that worked out well. But it's a great day to be in the Pacific Northwest. Putting together a schedule for Shield Field Days at the end of July. So tried to get Blaine on the schedule, but he's too important to come visit us.
Sorry, I'm busy a lot.
Well, Blaine, first of all, thank you for being here, Blaine. Being busy is good, though.
Yeah.
He is busy.
Yep.
My understanding is you were busy this weekend. What'd you get up to?
I went to LibertyCon. I've been hearing about it for years, and I finally went just to see what it was. The funniest part is they had a science fiction convention. At the same time, they were holding some sort of physical fitness trainers convention.
Oh, yeah.
And the absolute stark contrast between these bronzed, six-packed people walking by a row of rascals with various science fiction people, and the contrast was hilarious for everyone, and I just was having fun watching.
So of narcissists and nerds, huh?
Yeah. Well, but the physical appearance.
Oh yeah,
I go to science fiction conventions to feel skinny. Okay.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm looking forward to getting back to the States. I feel like I feel fat in Korea, but when I get to the States, I'm like, boy, I am svelte.
Yeah.
Oh,
you'll be downright Ethiopian if you go to a sci-fi convention.
I know. I've actually never been to a straight up sci-fi convention. I've been to I've been to San Diego Comic-Con a couple times. And that's a mixed bag, right? But I've always wanted to go to like a sci-fi convention, like that's more like, not like a Trek convention, but like, that's got the Trekkies and it's got the various, I mean, there's so many different fandoms now. It's kind of hard to do just single fandom conventions, I guess.
Well, and it's very much like what we talk about. They talk about future weapon systems, future conflicts, things along those lines. I wear my Council for Future Conflicts hat the whole weekend.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it was a perfect fit.
Yeah. Like I said, we were talking before the show. I'm always surprised when anybody likes anything or even knows of anything that I've ever done. So I appreciate you flying the flag out there. And,
there were people there that said they had learned about this because they followed me and they listened to us. They said it's hard when we do videos, but they had listened to us when they're on their road doing their commute. I don't know what their commute is, but we're there entertaining.
Yeah, if you're in the chat and you listen to us, so if you hear this in replay, do it in the comments on the video, or if you're live but you listen to us and you can't see us, let me know. Originally in the first year of the show, we also did simul streamed over to various podcasting platforms, but we kind of let that go because it was a lot of effort for not a whole lot of audience. So if that's something that we need to kind of relook at, hit me up in the chat or DM me or message me over on X, because we're trying to figure out ways that we can bring a better product to you guys. So Philip Connor said most days I just listener, Happy Plague Doc. So I know that a lot of you are out there, and I try to kind of That's why one of the reasons why if there's subtitles on videos or whatnot, we tend to read the subtitles because otherwise you guys won't know what we're talking about. All right. Pete, how you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good. I got to pull open this weekend, which was great because, it's almost 100 degrees and about 90% humidity here in South Carolina.
As it always is.
Yeah. Well, there's that brief time called winter where it does dip down into the 70s. So there is that. Yeah, that's nice. So that's going to be nice to kind of get in and help with my joints and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just I've been kind of tracking the situation with Iran and everything going on with that. So I'm currently doing some deep diving using my ChatGPT to get some information.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
All right, Watcher. How are things in the Dusty West?
Egg.
I mean,
Egg.
You could have half an order of scrambled eggs.
And how much did it cost you to get that egg?
I think we're closing in on $3,000 now.
A $3,000. Well, the good news is that the next egg will only be $1,500.
Yeah, I was gonna say so. But yeah, we finally are producing it. Just kind of a cool. For those of you who are following our farm story, interestingly, we will not probably have eggs for sale for a little while because when we went through the whole farm stand debacle, I got encouraged to reach out to a CSA, which is a group that basically sells directly to consumers from a group of farms. And they informed me that they need roughly the exact amount of eggs that I'm going to be producing. And they're selling them to a much wealthier place 2 hours from here. So I'm pretty stoked about that because it means that I don't even have to work for sales for the first 20 dozen eggs a month, which is, a week.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that, actually.
That's what you call a bird in the hand.
But
I know, right? All right, gentlemen. We got a lot to talk about. Blaine's got a limited amount of time, so let's jump right into it today. A lot of crazy stuff happening in the Middle East. So I figured, why not just go like 90 degrees off azimuth and talk about something that isn't any of the things that were in the news about the Middle East, and something that we've been talking about kind of frequently in the last few months. Syria is definitely one of those areas that it may not be fighting a big war right now, but it has recently had a lot of conflict. And let's be honest, it's probably going to be the site of future conflict or the cause of further future conflict. Suicide bombing at Damascus church kills at least 15. Worst nightmare for Syrian Christians. They describe this as the oldest Christian population on earth, continues to be under threat of extinction after U.S. Gulf Israel war, of regime change in Syria, and former President Bashar al-Assad's overthrow on December 8th of last year. The irony is that the most hostile group to Christians actually won that war.
Yeah. Didn't I read this already? This book? It seems like this is a repeat or something.
Well, the sad thing is that history continues to repeat itself again and again and again. On Sunday, a suicide bomber entered the St. Elias Antiochian Orthodox Church and detonated while a service was happening, killing at least 15. According to early reports, alongside possibly a second attacker and leaving more wounded, the church is now a bloody mess, and the personnel at the scene have struggled to identify body parts. The church is an ancient Christian neighborhood that lies outside Damascus, old city of Bab Sharaki, and is in an area many churches, chapels, and Christian cemeteries. Some initial reports said that it may have been a car bomb, but regional sources, as well as the popular regional account War Monitor, indicate that a suicide bomber blew himself up with an explosive belt inside the Greek Orthodox Church. And Reuters notes that it was the first suicide bombing in Damascus since Bashar al-Assad was toppled by Islamist-led rebel insurgency in December. Reuters said that at least 20 people were killed and dozens more injured amidst conflicting emergency response reports.
It's a round of applause, everybody involved.
Well, I mean, let's kind of pause here, guys. And I mean, we can't say that we're surprised because this is exactly what we said was going to happen. But it's sad to see it happen. Joe, I know this is something that you've kind of had your eyeball on with Syria. What's your kind of initial response?
My initial response is Syria gonna Syria. The problem is that you're going to have HTS responsible for investigating this, and they're going to be like, shucks, we have no idea who could possibly have done this. Now, ISIS has claimed responsibility, which doesn't really surprise me, but, it's just Syria being Syria. The civil war is not over there, despite what everyone says.
Yeah, it's continuing. Blaine?
It's a country that's going to have nothing but chaos. I would imagine we could be looking at this in Iran in the next 6 months, this level of pure chaos. It's going to be this way for a while, folks. This is what happens when there's a vacuum in power. Everybody's going to try to grab it. There's going to be a lot of reprisals and things along those lines. So this isn't, sadly, this is not a shocker.
Yeah. Well, the sad thing is I think, and we're going to talk about this in the last segment today, but this kind of gives you an opportunity to kind of weigh in early on that, Blaine, is, this is the kind of thing that, why wouldn't Iran use this against, U.S. Because, churches are pretty soft targets in America.
Yeah. This concept that there's a lot of sleeper cells out there, I believe there probably is some, but I don't think it's nearly as structured and organized as anyone thinks. Right. We've been at war with the folks over in Iran since 1979. So if these sleeper cells are sleeping, they are really tired.
Well, the irony is I think, and I think this is not too far off, but somebody I heard today, they basically said, well, a lot of these sleeper cells probably quietly left their location and got lost inside of America after kind of living in America and deciding, you know what, maybe I'm not as committed to this cause as I thought I was.
Yeah.
And I know that happened to Russian sleeper cells. So I mean, maybe we can all pray to God that that's the case, and the phones go unanswered when the call comes.
I think that's somewhat a possibility for some of them, for sure. I know that the Soviets had an awful fucking time keeping agents that came to America. They had so many agents that just ended up being like, actually, I like this place.
Peace out. I'm going to just kind of getting back to the story. Ba'athist government of Assad was quasi-secular and protected the region's Christians as well as other religious minorities. Christian leaders have feared that since Gilani and HTS took over, that they would no longer have protection. It could become open season on attacking churches. Hundreds of thousands of Syrian Christians have left their homeland, and after some 14 years of brutal war. And so there's a X post here from Greco Levantines worldwide. It says there's concerns that the HTS. So this has got video of outside the church. Watcher, if you want to show that. Yeah, I think that's it right there. That's it. There are concerns that HTS security forces may be interfering with the crime scene. They encircled the St. Elias Church shortly after the attack. We urgently needed international investigators on the ground, which support Greece and Cyprus to ensure transparency and justice. So, I mean, absolutely, if HTS is basically disturbing the scene and making it impossible to find out, it's exactly what you said, Joe. Yeah, good luck in having HTS give two shits about this.
And I love how everyone says we need international observers to investigate and make this happen. What authority do they have, and what does that even mean, right?
And let's be honest. Let's assume it was ISIS. What are you going to do then to HTS? Well, I don't know. We can't do anything about ISIS. They're on the other side of the country. Okay, I mean, so it's open season on Christians. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So President Trump recently lifted sanctions on Syria, but did nothing to protect the Christian churches or the Druze or the Alawites, for that matter, who have been massacred in large numbers recently, especially along the coast near Latakia. Guys, final thoughts on this whole Syria mess, Pete?
It's a mess. I mean, it wasn't going to turn into some sort of multicultural democracy overnight. Everyone knew it, but they had too much invested in to say otherwise. Yeah. And more bloodletting is just going to occur.
Watcher or anybody else got any thoughts on this whole situation in Syria?
Just that, isn't it weird that regardless of who's going to war and what's happening in the Middle East, there are two groups who are consistently who, no matter who's fighting, no matter who did the bad thing, there are two groups who will consistently be punished. And I'm frankly sick of it.
Yep.
And our international policy does absolutely nothing to protect these people, and in fact, largely is what puts them in danger.
Yeah, the Afghaners that's about as close as we got so far.
Yeah, well said. All right, let's move on to the next story, shall we? I thought I was kind of like, what the fuck on this story? I mean, like, I didn't quite know what to make of it. So let's kind of get into this one. 1,500 injured, several stabbings at music festival in France.
Stabbings is an interesting way to put it, because it was women who were injected with poison.
Yeah,
not really stabbings, but I'm sorry. Carry on.
And that's just, when I heard that, like, it was like 100 and something were with stabbed with hypodermic needles. And I was like, well, how does that happen? Are they just people coming up to people in the crowd and just kind of doing the jab and the plunge and then moving out? I mean, it just seemed kind of nonsensical, but I don't know. All right, at the Fête de la Musique festival in France, violence erupted, leading to nearly 1,500 injuries. Over 100 women reportedly being stabbed with syringes and poisoned. The French Interior Ministry reported 21 incidents of such attacks in Paris alone, prompting police to arrest 12 suspects. Disturbingly, social media had circulated calls. Disturbingly, social media had circulated calls to target women during the festival. In addition to syringe attacks, the festival saw several severe injuries from stabbings and property damage, including 51 vehicle fires. The majority of attackers and victims were minors. Authorities recorded numerous violent crimes, particularly those targeting individuals in positions of authority. I mean, so this is just one of those kind of things. Like, if you've got kids, this is the kind of thing that is like, I'm just not going to let my kids ever leave the house. Right. It's like
the only actual French people I saw in that video were getting attacked. So
the worst part was the poison was actually a COVID booster.
Yeah, how progressive of the French to call a COVID booster a poison now. Well, do we know what the poison was?
Didn't say.
It hasn't said in here.
I was going to say, the thing that would scare the shit out of me if it was something biological, like, God forbid, like you get take a bunch of blood from an AIDS victim or something, and you just go around.
It would just be more AIDS
from the prophet Tom Clancy, right? Executive orders, right?
Yeah.
About the Shiva virus.
Well, and then we don't know who did this, but let's be honest. You're right. The only French people were the victims. I mean, literally, it's the caliphate of France at this point under Macron. He's done everything he can to cede control of the streets to these African and Middle Eastern minorities who are definitely, very progressive and forward-thinking, very French of them. Blaine, you gotta. I love it. I want to hear more. Tell me more.
It's just that, France invited this. They brought this on themselves, so don't bitch about it. You opened your floodgates to an invasion of Muslims, and you've got people out doing this stuff now. Is anybody on this council shocked, stunned, or anything else? No. And I don't think most American people are shocked by this.
Well, the sad thing is you can't even say we didn't see this coming. Because like we were talking before the show about the Crateman books. I mean, he did a couple books that kind of called listen, you need to see what you're doing to your country with the Muslim minorities, and one of them was called Caliphate, right, which took place in France during the Caliphate that arises at some point in the near future. Because they basically get overthrown by the Muslim minority population. And then there is a genocide perpetrated against French people in order to basically, okay, you're either convert or die type of scenario.
No one ever expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Well, maybe that's what we need at some point is a new Inquisition and a Reconquista army. El Cid lives again. Unfortunately, he needs to come in the form of Charlemagne's ghost. Joe, or Watcher, were you going to say something?
No. Hey, I read this book that warns multiple times throughout it against allowing unchecked immigration of foreigners. It's crazy.
Yeah, a couple of them, in fact. Now, let me know when we're ready, because I have the next one ready to queue.
Well, I'm actually trying to find out if there's any more details on this, because this is just one of those stories that doesn't go very in depth. And I can't imagine that they didn't release what kind of poison that is. If over 100 people had it.
It's ironic. They probably didn't want to because they didn't want copycats.
Yeah.
It is a specific term, poison, rather than anything else, right?
Right.
One of our folks posted on YouTube, "What a bunch of pricks." I gotta say, that was one of the best lines.
Let's see. It says here that 145 people reported being pricked with syringes during the festival. Let's see. Most of the victims were teenage girls, which is just, sad. Let's see. They're trying to determine if the substances were like rohypnol or GHB, but no results have been confirmed. And they said that there's a social media connection where, they were talking about this ahead of time. Prior to the festival, posts on Snapchat and other platforms called for targeting women with syringes, suggesting some sort of premeditation in some cases. That's oddly specific, right? Joe, I mean, when you have that kind of a threat, coming out before the event, I mean, it almost sounds like coordination at some level.
And it's almost like authorities didn't care, right?
Right.
So
you'd think they would at least put an announcement out of beforehand.
Unless your goal is to inject something that will prevent them from reproducing and therefore hastening the great replacement.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Now, the next one is. Go ahead. I'll let you do it, Watcher, because you've been really kind of up on this issue.
Well, not only that, but I'm. Here's the deal, chat. Look, I know we get accused of being shills a lot, and it's true. We do, unfortunately. We shill for some interesting causes, and we got an interesting one here today, folks. We're supposed to play this all the way through. And I hope you enjoy this message from H1B Mike Lee.
I'm H1B Mike Lee, and we got communist propagandists like Braxton McCoy's out here spreading stuff, and I don't even like Black Rocks. Oh, I'm H1B Mike Lee. Nobody's wanting to sell your trails. We love nature and all the bugs and the rocks. I'm H1B Mike Lee, and we're gonna take care of your forest by taking the trees out that ain't doing no good for you no more. H1B Mike Lee. I raise chickens. They love me. Come here. I'm H1B. I mean Mike Lee, and we're gonna take care of your BlackRock's gonna do. I mean, people is gonna take care of the land for you really well. Is this edible? Can you eat this? Stop it. Of course I know what this is. It's eucalyptus. My grandma used to rub it on my rear end when I was a kid. It's good for you. I'm H1B Mike Lee, and I ain't trying to get rid of pretty girls like this. Yeah, good pretty girl. Pretty girl. Oh, hold on a second, guys. I gotta take this. Yeah, it's BlackRock. Yeah, it's H1B Mike Lee. Yes, sir. Yeah, we're doing the commercial right now. Yeah, no, it's gonna go. The investment's fine. The investment's fine. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh my God, it's so hot out here.
I think that's probably enough.
That's probably enough. Yeah, he's taking a good thing and he's taking just a little bit. I thought if he ended at the phone call, that would have worked pretty well.
The best part was when his strategist said he complained that Braxton McCoy was making personal attacks and using the information in the bill to attack it. I was like, wait, did you just say he shouldn't have used the information in the bill? He shouldn't have told people what it said?
Yeah, he used that to accuse him of Saul Alinsky would be proud.
Well, you know, the irony is that evidently that's having some effect because he's what was it yesterday? He said that they're going to making some changes, supposedly like some changes, and I have no idea what that means. But
the only change they need to do is just drop it in the burn barrel.
The change that should be dropped. He knows that he can't get it passed as a standalone bill, so he's trying to force it through another way. And for the record, this is not new. He's been trying to pass this ever since he was elected.
Yeah,
aren't they? Is this like because he's been very correct on a lot of constitutional issues over the years. Is this him just kind of taking it a little too far, or do you think he's absolutely corrupt on it?
No, this is the end of his career. No, he knows it, and I'm not like he's about to retire. I'm not saying like, oh, this is going to be the end for him. No. He doesn't have to worry about re-election. He's done. This is him
you mean
paying off.
He wasn't running for re-election.
This is him paying off his donors after a political career. That's what this is. This is the out. This is like when what's his face, Fatty Tubkins, over in New Jersey, did roughly the same thing, just not with federal lands, just with state contracts. This is him selling out, or previously has sold out. This is him paying back the donors.
Yeah, you know, I was driving down 83 here. You guys all know the stretch from the camp up to Big Fork. And I thought, you know what this stretch needs? It needs low-income housing and a 7-Eleven.
And a Buc-ee's. It needs a Buc-ee's.
Yeah, a Buc-ee's and maybe a liquor store.
Yeah, yesterday I was out and I was viewing the beautiful Tetons from my farm, you know, the direct line of sight. And you know what I thought? I could really go between here and there? At least 10 car washes. There needs to be at least 10 car washes between me and that mountain range. That's just...
What I want to know is when they're going to start doing Hindi language preferred truck stops.
They already have.
It's funny you think that's not a thing.
Totally a thing.
Like with the Hindi language, like like on the sign versus
driving down the freeway, you'll see a truck stop sign, and everything on the sign is in Hindi. That's
except for there will sometimes be small English underneath the Hindi.
Are these big chains that are doing it, or is it kind of like the more niche, like the local type deals?
Don't know.
Huh? I'm sorry. Say it again.
Is it the chains that are doing that, or is it the? Oh, it's like a local.
Yeah. Yep.
I guess they're trying to stand out in the marketplace. I guess, who knows? I don't know. I don't know why you would want to, but
yeah, but go into Loves and you'll be amazed that it's not all in Hindi.
Sometimes my jokes go too close to the mark, and I didn't even.
Yeah,
know it.
you flew a little too close to the sun there.
Well, it just means I've got my pulse on the issue, right? All right. Guys, that's all we have for odds and ends. Joe, talk a little bit about tactical dash wisdom. It's this is the kind of time when people need to be reminded that they need a little bit, huh?
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about yesterday. The article that came out last night, making an honest assessment of yourself. We all say when I put out my comment on Saturday night about, hey, make sure tomorrow you're armed and you got a first aid kit. Everyone's like, bro, that's every day. That's every day. I guarantee you that 90% of those guys don't actually carry every day. So instead of the answer you give on Twitter, where you're always a Superman and you're always hyper alert and you're always carrying 37 pounds of gear, be honest with yourself and look at what you carry in your car and on your person and make sure it's up to the task. The world got a little more dangerous on Saturday, regardless of who was responsible for it. And we saw almost immediate response on Sunday. I still think, even though a name's has been brought out, there's more to that story that happened on Sunday morning. And we'll have to wait and see. But the world is a dangerous place. It's getting dangerous, more dangerous every day. And you need to carry a certain amount of gear with you. So that article gives you a list of some good ideas of what to add and have and make sure you've got. And for a regular note, I was out hiking on Saturday morning. And I was going down this trail to check it out for a class. And I get all the way up the trail and I'm like, hey, you know what? What do you have with you right now? You're on this dangerous, highly technical hiking trail that's on the side of a mountain. And you've got half a bottle of water and no food and no splint. It's time to turn around and go back to the car and reevaluate it. So check out that article and then reevaluate all of your gear and what you have. And when you're tempted to walk out of the house and say, well, I don't need my first aid kit, or I don't need a sidearm, or I don't need my get-home bag because I'm just running to the store. Understand that's usually when something bad happens. You almost never need your gear when you're sitting at home. You're probably going to need it when you're out doing something mundane. So check that out. The other thing that's going on over there is we have the schedule up for the rest of the summer for classes. I got people signing up for the Fieldcraft class out in North Carolina, but hey, we've got them out here in Montana a couple of times between now and then. We have Fieldcraft, we have community security ops, we have all kinds of classes up there. We're doing a special first aid class, to kick off Shield Field Days on July 25th. Me and Project 223 will be running you through some of the skills in Book 5. And we have classes both before and after Shield Field Days, kind of wrapping them around there. A lot of good stuff there, and a lot of single day and half day classes that are added in for a lot of the locals. So check that out. And if you're available and free and in the area, make your way out to Shield Field Days, July 25th to the 27th, where you can meet all kinds of people, some of your Twitter favorites. I think Father Abraham will be there, Vigilante Engineering, Zumbers Designs, Angry American, Mexican Iron Man. All kinds of us will be out there hanging out. And meet my new friends at Swan Mountain Outfitters to get yourself set up with a great hunting or camping package in the Bob Marshall Wilderness. Come check it out. Go to tactical-wisdom.com.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's just such a great lineup of folks that are going to be there. And let's be honest, Joe, for all the great content and all the great people, it's worth going just to meet the regular folks that are going to be there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the fellowship and just kind of like being around people, like you don't have to like worry about like sounding like the crazy guy in the office or whatever.
Right. We're all crazy
for being concerned. Well, for being concerned about preparedness, right? I mean, crazy ideas. I know. It's kind of like, a guy claiming that you needed to have auto insurance back in the 1930s. Why do I need auto insurance? What are you, crazy or something?
Well, you know what?
Hey,
Boiler Man is on here, says, get your ass to class. He's been to several classes. He's been to Shield Field Days. So has Natalie McClendon. Just listen to your fellow people who've been out there. Good time. And welcome, Natalie. Haven't seen you on here in a while. Glad you're here.
I know. Yeah, Natalie, nice to see you there. Blaine, I know you're not a huge plugger, but what do you got going on? What's new with you? Tenure 2 just came out pretty recently, right?
Tenure 2 just came out. The audio book drops tomorrow.
I'll be on that.
Yeah, I'm going to plug that. It was weird being at a science fiction convention this week because more people talked to me about Tenure and Blue Dawn than they did my sci-fi stuff. And Tenure is rocking it out, guys. It is selling at the same levels it has since the day it released. It's amazing.
Well, I tell you, Blaine, you really scratch an itch with both of those book series that, for whatever, let's be honest, Landis, he's great. I mean, that's actually my favorite series of yours, but Blue Dawn and Tenure have unique things where you're kind of, in a way, it's a guilty pleasure for a lot of people because they don't like to talk about that stuff because they're scared what people might think. But, I love it in a book,
Well, Blue Dawn 6, Brushfires of Freedom, went into edit Friday. So
last book, right?
Yeah, I've had it turned into the publisher for a while. So, but it was good. It's been going good. I'm working right now today on Tenure 3. I got it back from the editor this morning. I came on the show, so I wouldn't have to look at it yet. But going through the edit process on Tenure 3. So hopefully in the next month or two, you'll see that out. I got the cover for it the other day. It's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
So it's been going good.
Very cool. So you I know you're busy. You won't be able to make it for field days. Is there anything that you can announce where if people want to run it, bump into you this summer? Any plans for like appearances at any public events or anything?
Well, I'm going out. No, I don't have anything until BasedCon, which comes up in early September. But,
right?
I'm heading out to LA to go see my son for a few days and try to straighten out Gavin Newsom. We'll see how that.
Well, you straighten out your son. I know he's living behind occupied enemy lines.
Oh yeah, very much so.
There was one BasedCon, right? BasedCon was. Joe, do you remember we had the organizer of BasedCon on the Writers Fix Problems show before the very first one because I think him and Mark Sibley were close. And did you go to BasedCon?
And Ryan? Yeah, I did twice.
Yeah, and Ryan. Yeah, and Ryan too. Yeah. That's glad to see they're still going strong with that.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a great thing. It's grown quite a bit from the first time when we had it at a little beach house in Muskegon to where it is now. So
very cool. All right, that's just great seeing people like that grow. All right, let me hit the brushbeater.store ad. Today we're diving into the U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear sites and the looming threat of retaliation. We're proud to bring you another ad for our trusted sponsor, the Brushbeater Store, arming you for what's next. U.S. B-2 bombers and Tomahawk missiles obliterated several sites in Iran with their nuclear facilities, escalating the Iran-Israel war. Iran's now threatening to unleash terror cells on U.S. soil with warnings sent to Trump at the G7 summit. And experts warn of attacks on critical infrastructure or public spaces. Whether it's Tehran's proxies abroad or chaos at home, secure comms are your lifeline. At brushbeater.store, the newly updated website showcases top digital mobile radios, the Baofeng DM32 with AES 256 encryption, delivers secure voice and SMS across several bands, keeping you connected if terror cells disrupt networks. The DMF8 under $75 is a user-friendly DMR with AES 128 encryption, ideal for beginners and compatible with Baofeng gear. Check out brushbeater.store/collection/digital-mobile-radio-DMR to secure your comms now. Use exclusive code CFC10 at checkout for 5% off digital radios, night vision, or any other gear like helmets, training courses, etc. Orders over $100 ship free. Visit brushbeater.store and prep for the worst. A huge thanks to Matt, owner of the store, for his support of the Council on Future Conflict. Head to brushbeater.store, use code CFC10, and stay secure against terror threat. Now let's dive back into today's episode.
Whoa. Before we do, this is on sale. It's on sale today. You should get it.
And you get an extra discount if you use CFC10.
Yeah, that's actually a great radio. Somebody was asking me in the chat about the brush beater chest rig. The answer is yes, you want that. It's absolutely fantastic. Everyone wants all these chest rigs that have all this stuff on it, and they're very technical and hard to use. The brush beater chest rig is a literally throw it over your chest, maybe add one pouch on each side, and you're good to go. You don't want to stack all that up in front of you. So the brush beater chest rig is a good one.
Yeah, I mean, you need to figure out what your mission is and then build your chest rig for that. Let's be honest, 90% of us don't need a full first line, like going into heavy combat chest rig.
Correct.
4 mags, a radio, and a med pouch, maybe, a utility pouch in addition to that, and a camelback, and you're set. And if you want to throw that on a plate carrier, that's fine. I think that's totally fine. Just remember, just because you have a plate carrier doesn't mean you have to have like full on hard plates in there all the time either. So,
correct. We just had that discussion yesterday, or at some point over the weekend. I think we had.
Yeah, we talked about that. Like I've got my plate solution already figured out. So, yes. All right. Let's talk about the bombing of Iran.
Operation Midnight Hammer does not involve Paul Pelosi. I'm sorry.
Or pornography or any of the other means.
Yeah, I went right for porn. So
that's exactly.
Yeah, I actually tried to engage the Mrs. Tactical Wisdom in Operation Midnight Hammer. She was not down for Midnight Hammer. So.
Well, it has one of those feelings of a 1970s black, porn. I got your Midnight Hammer right here, baby.
We go right now.
That was some sick old man.
Now I'm burning in hell. Thank you.
I thank you. Thank you for that image there, Blaine. All right.
That's a good recovery because Scott earlier said, I know you're not a big plugger. And so I think you've really recovered well from that.
Hey, well, I try.
I got your Midnight Hammer right here, Joe.
I mean, if we're gonna go that route, we might as well go the full Monty. Watcher, pull my screen up here real quick. This is, of course, what everybody
That's pretty good.
Ron Jeremy, and of course, it'll also co-star probably Grantham.
Wait, I mean, we don't know who that is. Nobody knows who that is.
I know who he is. I mean, I was 15 once. I don't.
Is it wrong when you put this image up that I hear the Battle Hymn of the Republic from Dr. Strangelove?
Oh, let's see. Yes. All right. Enough of that tomfoolery.
No.
Hold on.
Cholo. We have to address Juan Cholo. Do we have a Midnight Hammer for Djibouti?
Oh, there we go. That wins. That wins.
Well,
no, I have one that I have to add now, which is I saw this tweet by Dmitry Medvedev about this, and since you've brought up the Dr. Strangelove, somebody had the opportunity and took it to do the funniest thing ever. Dimitri's yelling about the strike, and Will Chamberlain Listen, I'm as sorry as you are, Dimitri.
All I know is I'm gonna use the massive ordnance penetrator on Djibouti.
Oh God! Oh, I'm so glad I tuned in this morning.
I wanted to make sure that you lose all of your remaining credibility, Blaine.
It's a good thing we're not 12 years old.
Well, that's the secret. Guys are all 12 years old on the inside. We just do everything we can to try to fool people that we're not. All right, let's. Rather than me just kind of talk through this because I'm sure I'll miss something, let's play this first video and let's just play it and pause it as needed because this is the Joint Chiefs Chair General McCain or General Kane explaining this, not McCain, Kane.
General
Kane.
Ripper.
Yeah.
Midnight Friday into Saturday morning, a large B-2 strike package comprised of bombers launched from the continental United States. As part of a plan to maintain tactical surprise, part of the package proceeded to the west and into the Pacific as a decoy, a deception effort known only to an extremely small number of planners and key leaders here in Washington and in Tampa. The main strike package.
Okay. That is probably the best thing that came out of this was they didn't brief the Democrats on this. And so it didn't leak to the press. So everybody bought the deception. And I think that's really telling.
You know, Blaine, I think one of the other stories I have talks about this, but I think it's worth noting. The lack of leaks is probably the single most impressive thing about this military operation. I mean, B-2 bombers, check, got it. I know what they do. You know, all the logistics support, sure, got it. We practice that all the time. Dropping the bombs on target, hey, yeah, I mean, that's what they did what they're supposed to do, right? Yeah, right. I would have been upset if I found out that one of these bombs went the wrong way, right? So that being said, all things that I would expect to happen, nobody knowing about it and it be completely not leaked. And in the days leading up to, especially with the deception operation, I didn't see that coming.
Honestly, that's the best thing that came out of this. And what Trump really did was reveal that the Democrats are the source of a lot of leaks. Capitol Hill is the source of a lot of leaks, which we all suspected. Let's be honest. Yeah. But he actually was able to confirm it, and that was brilliant. Now they're screaming, well, we should have been involved. Well, no, you would have talked to the press.
Right. Well, look, and nobody said it directly, but let's just actually put a finger on it. Hey, the previous administration had an Iranian spy in the Department of Defense. Actually, an Iranian spy ring in the Department of Defense in high levels. So kudos, we have apparently rooted them out.
Adam Kiplinger had a Chinese spy ring in the bed. What? Nobody's going to say it?
I mean, you know, facts. I mean, you know, no lies heard.
7 bombers, each with 2 crew members, proceeded quietly to the east with minimal communications. Throughout the 18-hour flight into the target area, the aircraft completed multiple in-flight refuelings. Once over land, the B-2s linked up with escort and support aircraft in a complex, tightly timed maneuver requiring exact synchronization across multiple platforms in a narrow piece of airspace, all done with minimal communications. This type of integration is exactly what our joint force does better than anyone else in the world. At approximately 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time last night, and just prior to the strike package entering Iran, a U.S. submarine in the Central Command Area of Responsibility launched more than 24 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles against key surface infrastructure targets at Esfahan.
I'm going to do a quick pause and acknowledge something somebody said in the chat here. Starting to understand that submariners are the real spooky operators. Yes. Yes. Want to hear the spooky thing about that?
Launch those from international waters. You launch those from just shore.
Yeah. Also, but my favorite thing about this always is, hey, because of the logistics involved, guess who almost definitely was the very, very first one to know about this strike? It was a submarine.
Yeah, so you have to creep in at under 6 miles an hour, like under 6 knots, to not make any noise, right?
Yeah.
It takes a while. And 24 TLAMs is probably almost his entire magazine. So he had to get out quick.
Did it say what kind of submarine it was?
I don't believe so. They've been very careful whenever they talk about the sub.
All I heard was converted Ohio class, but I don't subscribe to anything that I heard on the media.
So that would be my guess, right? That I think that's the preferred platform for these types of missions, because it's an Ohio class, which in its day it was the quietest thing in the water, and I understand they've continued to upgrade those. And they have 4 converted Ohio classes that have been turned into tactical Tomahawk carriers, and they also have provisions for SEALs and special operations capable stuff. So yeah, I mean, that would have been my guess, but I don't know. I haven't. Yeah, SSGN was announced. Okay, yeah, they have a shitload of TLAMs. Yeah. Joe, knowing it's an SSGN, then that's what I think maybe half of its magazine of those.
This is correct, Doctor. That's why we did it, and they're fantastic missile trucks.
Yeah. If it were an attack sub, which are where the TLAMs used to get shot from, then it would have been that.
That'd be full complement.
Yeah. Yeah, carries 144.
The Operation Midnight Hammer strike package entered Iranian airspace, the U.S. employed several deception tactics, including decoys, as the 4th and 5th generation aircraft pushed out in front of the strike package at high altitude and high speed, sweeping in front of the package for enemy fighters and surface-to-air missile threats.
I just want to offer a tiny bit of speculation there. So the 4th generation was probably the Growlers.
Growlers and probably F-16s, the Wild 16. Weasels.
Yeah.
And then probably F-22s and maybe some F-35, but I would bet 22s for sure.
And I think the deception package was a Chinese spy balloon.
I think it might have been some of the North Korean poop balloons that they send over.
Somebody, I won't say who because they did put it in the private chat, so I won't rumble them. But somebody in our private chat here said, "What's the random name generator they use to come up with these names?" And my question is, they've got to be using an LLM by now, right? Like they've got to have a specially trained LLM that just looks at operation names and goes, "Spit out an even more ridiculous one than one you've seen."
Well, they used to have a database, like literally just like hard copies of stuff, and they would have the cross-reference. I know that. Yeah. You can call me out. You can call me out on that, man, because like I find it fascinating. I love that kind of stuff.
Pete, don't you remember the every name target had a code name? Yeah, back in like Afghanistan.
Yeah, Well, that was a lot of it had to do with like Iraq specific or Afghan, and then like unit specific and all that kind of stuff. And what the MSRs were named after certain like cities and all this.
Right. So like I was referring specifically to the JPEL stuff. Effects list. Yeah, all that was centrally managed. So they had some pretty bizarre ones, but also for some reason there's just a consistently cool mix of two-word code names for all those guys. So,
Trump didn't name it because it would have been the big glorious
right.
Operation Big Glorious Explosion.
Yeah, huge deal. Operation Huge Deal. All right, let's continue.
Yep.
The strike package was supported by U.S. Strategic Command, U.S. Transportation Command, U.S. Cyber Command, U.S. Space Command, U.S. Space Force, and U.S. European Command.
So let me clarify there. Mostly, I mean, great on Space Force. You guys are great. Cyber Command probably did a shit ton here, but like Space Force mostly was securing airwaves, right? I think. Anyhow.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't really know what Space Command had to contribute.
I think that they keep the satellites safe and they keep the satellites communicating, and we needed satellite communication for the comms. That's the only thing I can think the Space Force would have done.
Well, they packed the lunch for the bomber crew.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
They're the ones that keep the Wi-Fi and the chemical toilet running.
Yeah, pretty much.
The U.S. protection package employed high-speed suppression weapons to ensure safe passage of the strike package, with fighter assets employing preemptive suppressing fires against any potential Iranian surface-to-air threats.
My man cashing in on every buzzword, every one of them.
I know it's the best. They have to have a school they send these guys to before, like, when they work at the Pentagon.
Yeah, it's called the War College.
Of any shots fired at the U.S. strike package on the way in. At approximately 6:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2:10 a.m. Iran time, the lead B-2 dropped 2 GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator weapons on the first of several aim points at Fordo. As the president stated last night, the remaining bombers then hit their targets as well, with a total of 14 MOPs dropped against 2 nuclear target areas.
I have a question about this, and it's been a question that has been bothering me ever since he said that. There were 21. Yeah. There were 21 on site. We flew 7 over there. We dropped 14. Why?
So, what do you mean? There's 20.
Well, we flew 7. They carry 2 apiece. There's 7 B-21s. They carry 2 apiece. So we had 21 of the bombs. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. My brain's doing math wrong.
Yeah. 14. 7 planes, 14 bombs.
Yeah. You're right.
Their infrastructure targets were struck between and 7:05 p.m. Eastern time. Again, that's about 2:10 in the morning local time in Iran, with the Tomahawk missiles being the last to strike at Esfahan to ensure we retain the element of surprise throughout the operation. Following weapons release, the Midnight Hammer strike package exited Iranian airspace and the package began its return home. We are unaware of any shots fired at the package on the way out. Iran's fighters did not fly, and it appears that Iran's surface-to-air missile systems did not see us. Throughout the mission, we retained the element of surprise. In total, U.S. forces employed approximately 75 precision-guided weapons during this operation. This included, as the president stated last night, 14 30,000-pound GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, marking the first ever operational use of this weapon. I know that battle...
I see a question in chat that I'd like to answer. Somebody says, does anybody think that we might have really used the B-21? No, because do you really think Trump could have kept his mouth shut about that for even a single second?
And they only carry 1, MOP. There's 2 in a B-2, 1 in a B-21.
Also, well done to just me. That's good.
Battle damage is of great interest. Final battle damage will take some time, but initial battle damage assessments indicate that all 3 sites sustained extremely severe damage and destruction. More than 125 U.S. aircraft participated in this mission, including B-2 stealth bombers, multiple flights of 4th and 5th generation fighters, dozens and dozens of air refueling tankers, a guided missile submarine, and a full array of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance aircraft, as well as hundreds of maintenance and operational professionals. As the Secretary said, this was the largest B-2 operational strike in U.S. history and the second longest B-2 mission ever flown, exceeded only by those in the days following 9/11.
I mean, that's pretty. I mean, let's be honest. This is an oppressive operation in and of itself. Just the time length, the coordination, massively coordinated. I don't know if Pete. I know you've done a little joint planning in your past.
Yeah.
I mean, everything gets harder when it turns purple.
Yeah.
So. I mean, it's hard. We say what you will about whether we should have done this or not.
Yeah.
It's the operation's impressive, and I have nothing but kudos for the people involved.
I totally agree. Yeah, take away the right or wrong or should have been done, should not have been done. The actual execution, you get an A plus.
Yeah, guys, I just want to kind of go around the horn on that. I mean, just forget the editorial, political kind of piece of it first. What's your kind of take on the execution of this, and how it appears to have gone, Joe?
Well, we still don't have any actual BDA, and it's going to be difficult to get a true BDA because the entire site is subterranean. So a side aperture radar is probably the best thing. But
Israel has some pretty cool robots.
I don't know if this is true because I don't know if I trust the accounts, but I did see one interesting thing about the synthetic aperture radar that we have already deployed. Apparently, people are saying that there's signs that they've already filled back in the tunnel sides in certain areas in order to try and prevent our synthetic aperture radar waves from penetrating further than they would be able to normally. Which is a sign of activity still at the site.
Well, I mean, I don't think that there's any question that we didn't totally destroy it, but ultimately, I think there was probably some significant damage done. This is all pretty delicate stuff that would be inside of these main.
It's just pure shock damage, not actual explosive damage. Ursa Theodorus' $20 one raises an interesting point I want to talk about.
Oh, I didn't even see that one. Ursa Theodorus for 20 says, so you're telling me that that successful endeavors keep emissions to a minimum? Well, so yeah, Joe, go ahead. I'll give you first crack at this one.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely right. If you have a good plan and everyone knows that plan, you don't need to be emitting all kinds of radio chatter. It's one of the biggest problems that we have during training classes is everyone feels like they got to get on the radio and talk. And what we try to show the students is that the minute you do that, we know exactly where you are. So yes, successful endeavors keep all RF emissions to the minimum, even on the way out, right? Just be quiet and go. That's it.
Loose lips might sink ship. Yeah, Blaine, what's your kind of take on the operation as a whole?
I thought it was brilliantly executed. I wish they hadn't given the level of detail that they did. In all fairness, we don't need to explain to other powers around the world what our capabilities are, even though those are known. I would have preferred them to say, look, they flew from an unknown location, they flew for X amount of hours, they hit, and they went back. Yeah,
now that presentation was directed entirely at the Chinese Ministry of Defense. Entirely.
Yeah, it wasn't. I just wish we wouldn't brag about it so much. I think that's a little dangerous. But I honestly, I think couldn't have been executed better. I mean, no loss of American life. What more do you want?
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing for me about this is that the only thing that watch it real quick. I'll give you a chance to talk about this before I because I think what my comment will take us into okay, should we have even done this in the first place? So
Gotcha. Is the question how well done it was? Because it was phenomenal. They did a great job.
Just your take on the operation as a whole.
well performed, well executed. Honestly, weirdly, is it possible that they made sure this one went well and went very well because we've had so many kicks in the balls as a military culture lately? And maybe this is part of a strategy of reinvigoration and getting some easy wins before maybe some harder battles to come.
Yeah,
just a thought.
I mean, all right, guys. So here's my kind of thing that I want to. I think there is, just to kind of piggyback off of what Blaine was saying a little bit. I think there is a little bit of transparency that needs to happen with these things, especially if you don't seek prior authorization from Congress. You can argue about whether the War Powers Act is constitutional or not. I think it is unconstitutional. That being said, it's the law that governs the president's actions here. So for the critics out there that said that what President Trump did was illegal, I don't think that's true. I think what he did was unconstitutional theoretically, but I'm willing to kind of give him a pass on this because let's be honest, guys, this Iranian problem has been a problem for a long time, and this kind of falls under the kind of rubric of what we should actually be able to do as far as international action, and let's be honest, how many times did Bill Clinton, bomb people in foreign countries or Barack Obama,
Barack Obama bombed Libya.
Yeah, and he tried, and they tried unsuccessfully, I think, to argue that's part of the wider GWAT, which it wasn't, of course.
All right, I got to bow out, guys.
All right, hey, Blake, thanks for being here, brother. Appreciate you. Make sure you check out Tenure 2.
I would argue that Bill Clinton churned a lot of sand. His strikes were never very effective. The strikes into the Sudanese desert and
I think that has everything to do with competency of a lot of the people that were surrounding him as anything else. But so this is kind of takes us into the. All right, so we decided that this is well done. Now I'm going to ask a new question of all of you guys. Should we have done this in the first place? Joe, you want to take that one on first?
I'm sorry, I was answering somebody in the chat. My apologies.
Should we have done it in the first place?
No, I think that I'll agree that Iran is our enemy and this needed to be done at some point by someone. But Iran had it well in hand. They weren't moving on our timeline, but they were working up towards this. But the question I raised on Saturday night is a question I'll raise today. Was this the plan all along? And was the Israeli op just been a long wild weasel suppression of enemy air defense to enable us to do this?
Right.
And if so, that should make you ask. Who's being played here and whose interests are we really serving? It was very telling to hear a whole bunch of senior government officials say that Israel is more important than America yesterday. Think that through.
Yeah. I mean, you guys know that me, Joe, and I think I speak for the rest of the council. We're not a dim Jews kind of guy, but at the same time, we also think we all believe America is first, right? I'm seeing a very kind of good, bad, kind of black and white dichotomy on this. Pete, what do you think? Where does it fall?
Like I always say, Israel is the largest aggregate receiver of foreign aid, $300 billion to inflation adjusted, and I don't think it's wise because it brings upon unneeded blowback upon the United States right when we're kind of distracted and hopefully building capability to go against China.
Yeah.
So I have a weird one, and I'm with you guys on most of it. My only thought is that I spot a pattern, and I want to make sure that I don't accidentally fall into contributing to it. I just want to make sure that I'm not blaming the Hmong for going ham against the Vietnamese that are sneaking over the border, if that makes sense. Because, oh boy, do we put a lot of our allies up to these kinds of things. And so I want to be clear that the blame should be attributed where it goes ultimately, because we might find out that Donald Trump essentially turned to Bibi and said, hey, listen, if you guys can knock out the air defense and guarantee me that it's just going to be a grand slam, then we'll come in there and we'll wipe out those bases for you. Okay? Because I could totally see that happening, right?
Yeah, like on. Remember, he said you have 60 days, and on day 61, the Israelis started attacking. It makes me wonder if, like, the whole thing was essentially kind of, if this whole thing has, for the last 2 weeks now, has been basically a setup for this strike.
Are you saying that things happen behind closed doors?
Oh God, shocking. So here's the other thing too. I'm not going to be here and say this is bad, this is good, black, white, whatever. I think Iran is a legitimate target. I do not think we should have taken part of this. I think Israel was doing fine. I think that Israel has every right to go after their national interest, and if they believe the national interest is to castrate Iran, then God love you. Because there's been times when I know a lot of countries didn't like what we did, but we did it in our national interest. And, and we also, and Joe, this keeps us consistent with what we've said between Russia and Ukraine, right? We said that we're not saying it was right that Russia invaded Ukraine, but we understood where and why and predicted their actions based on understanding what Putin thinks the national interest of Russia is. That doesn't mean we like it or we condone it. We just can see it coming a mile away. It's just like we could see this Israeli response coming a mile away. Now, I'll be honest with you. I thought that we might hit them, but I actually, the longer we went without hitting them, the prediction for me, like the percentage chance went down. So this kind of happened. If it didn't happen this weekend, I don't think we would have done it. So
I don't know. I've been yelling about it for a long time. Both parties have said very clearly what they were planning to do for basically my entire lifetime. Everybody has said Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. We've given a lot of reasons why, so I'm not going to debate that here. And Iran has said we're going to.
and that was the reason why the longer they went, the less chance I thought they would do it. And so I just, they finally did it. And that doesn't surprise me. It just surprises me it took this long for them to do it.
You know what's so sad about this? That
What?
John McCain isn't around.
Yeah, well, maybe we should take some glee in that.
I already did.
We got to take a little bit of a victory lap because on Friday we nailed it. We said, watch for something to happen related to this conflict. And sure enough it did. And I'll also point out that I said on Saturday night during our special show that Metro Detroit is the one place we could see an attack within 12 to 24 hours. And we did.
And there we go.
Yes. It's I mean, we've stopped using Jostradamus because it's like shooting fish in a barrel at this point.
Well, right. I mean, anybody with a set of eyes and a working brain that opens their mind to the facts around them can make these calls. I mean, I would say that we are specially trained and honed at this, but that being said, we're also not geniuses, right? I mean, all you got to do
yourself.
Well,
I mean,
I am speaking for myself. I mean, I'm not a genius. I mean, like anybody in the audience probably could do what we do if they spent the time to understand like all the warnings and indicators.
Listen, gentlemen.
Say it right.
Listen, gentlemen. Among us, I believe there is one genius, and if you want to know who it is, it's I'll just say that only one of us lives out in the woods, plays with guns for a living, gets paid to do so, and has regular encounters with bears, moose, and deer. And that is the genius.
There you go. All right. Do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Somebody mentioned in the chat earlier that it's a good thing Stan doesn't have an opinion on what happened over the weekend. If y'all have not looked at Stan's feed this weekend, he's being real subtle and low key about how he feels about this.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you know, like I don't blame anybody who I don't blame anybody who takes that opinion, right? I mean, because I kind of soft agree with that opinion.
Stan is spot on. I think Stan is spot on.
Yeah. All right. Hey, let's do link 3 in this segment, so we can kind of skip ahead a little bit.
I also sent you the Ambry threat assessment.
I got it. I want to work it in there because that goes to the whole Persian Gulf thing. Yep. All right. Trump has already pivoted to mulling regime change in Iran with now this is where I do a hard stop.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had an image response to this. I'll pull it up when I find it.
Now, let me give one caveat. If he pushes for regime change by enabling Israel to do whatever Israel wants to do along those, then maybe I could get behind that. But ultimately, I think you go a regime change, and that's going to activate the sleeper cells faster than anything else.
Yeah, been doing some math on that.
What's that?
I said I've been doing some math on that.
The sleeper cells. Well, yeah. That's segment 2. So
okay, give me some seconds here.
Well, I have found my instant response when I saw this.
Oh no, cringe.
Miga.
Yeah, that was cringe. Miga was
Miga. All right. Trump has already pivoted from this. This isn't about regime change as an administration talking point. There might be a possible regime change after all, and all the while he's lecturing Thomas Massey about not being MAGA amid the debate over what it is to be America first. As world leaders urgently call for diplomacy, President Trump raised the prospect of regime change with Tehran on Sunday, less than 24 hours after the U.S. strike on 3 Iranian nuclear sites. This stokes fear of a dangerously escalating conflict across the Middle East. If the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? ? Mr. Trump wrote this post on his social media site. The post came after top members of the administration spent much of the day emphasizing that the United States did not intend to enter a all-out war with Tehran. This could become very Bush-Cheney's Trump's Iraq war. And look who is very happy. With Fed Post Data says, born too early. I'll go back to that one. Born too early to die in the Middle East. Born too late to die in the Middle East. Born just the right time to die in the Middle East. Yep. Amen, brother. Let's see. Guess who's happy?
Something interesting. Make Iran great again is a comment that Reza Pahlavi has been using. And it's interesting to hear Trump use the same terminology that Pahlavi is using.
Hold on. I need my sunglasses. It glows so bright.
All right. So, but guess who likes this new position? Our very special John Bolton. President Trump did the right thing in striking Iran's nuclear weapons program. Now on to regime change. God, these people, they just can't help but just like shoving American youngsters into the meat grinder.
John Bolton feels this way because John Bolton doesn't have to pick up a rifle.
That's exactly right.
Hold on, I have to say that SNL skit, I think it was, where they were like, John Bolton runs the White House. Iran shot me.
The war walrus has spoken.
Man.
Yeah, that would be the way to definitely. Like I'll be honest with you, I kind of monitoring some of this Thomas Massey stuff because he's a representative from Kentucky, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not super. I like Thomas Massey for the most part, and I think going after him is not the right answer. That being said, Thomas Massey is very kind of like
he's too smart for his own good.
Yeah, he's constitutionally motivated, and it makes it impossible for him not to say exactly what he thinks, which, like you said, is kind of too smart for his own good.
That's something I don't have to worry about. So,
yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, that's why I have a YouTube channel instead of running for Congress.
Yet.
He says this is not our war, but if it were, Congress must decide such matters according to the Constitution. Now, here's what this would have been very smart of Trump, is to basically kind of privately poll through his networks inside the House of Representatives and the Senate to kind of see what the level of support is for this type of strike, and literally calling for a vote like just an hour before the actual bombs land, something like that. I think that might have been very smart. And because all you need is like a quorum, I think, in order to do that. And that would have given them that kind of constitutional protection. But he's operating under the war powers, which, like I said, is legal, but maybe not constitutional. And if Thomas Massey thinks this strongly, he needs to go after the War Powers Act. Random PNW Guy 84 for $10 says, if we were to follow this thread, how is regime change possible without boots on the ground, even special forces boots? Iran is not Libya. Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know, and that's the reason why I'm not in favor of it. I mean,
I have one version of regime change, and I think we would all agree with this version of regime change. I think it's the version of regime change that everybody's talked about that we need to do in the military for a long time. It's called the "you did a bad thing, now you die" version of regime change, where we go in, we kill the fucking bad guys, and then we fucking leave.
Well, I'd like to point out that regime change by the Americans is how we ended up with the Russo-Ukrainian war. Just saying. It's also how we ended up with the Russo-Georgian war.
Well, it's also how we ended up with ISIS. It's how we ended up with the Syrian civil war. It's how we ended up with almost everything bad that's happening in the Middle East in the last 20 years.
I think most of that has been the regime.
Well, in fairness, the Taliban was in charge of Afghanistan when we first came in there. Our regime change didn't last.
Well, I understand that, but the Taliban was born from the Mujahideen. So
correct. Yeah. This is all us going in and manipulating locals and doing all that. No, none of that dumb shit. When we get another 9/11 or when
my tax dollars somehow also my tax dollars.
Right? Exactly. So instead, next time we just when somebody attacks us, you kill the people responsible for attacking us, and then we leave. And then if they elect someone again who decides they want to attack us again, we bomb them for more of it. Great. And then eventually one of them will go, hey, maybe we shouldn't attack them. That's the version of regime change I support.
The interesting thing is there's a lot of great reasons to attack Iran from over the years. The problem is I don't feel like any of those were fully articulated and put in front of the proper authorities to make that kind of call.
That's true. What do you think did it though? What was the one that brought it?
It was the bomb, it was the bomb and them. Basically, Iran did the one thing that you could do that would piss Trump off to the point where he's willing to drop bombs on you, and that's basically tell him to get fucked on Trump. Hey, listen, the Trump deal. Some people are saying, oh, it was just a JCPOA 2.0, right? Well, no, it wasn't, because he wasn't just going to give him money; he was going to give him specific things, and they were going to force them to have, we're going to go where we want to go type kind of tours versus the petting zoos that they did under JCPOA, which were all bullshit.
How dare you, Hunch?
Mutually Assured has one that I like here. I think the meme does need an update for millennials and Gen X. I'm a younger man. This is my tax dollars blowing up my parents' tax dollars.
That's right. Yeah. and I didn't like my parents anyway, so. All right. So I'm not really interested in getting into a lot of that infighting stuff. Rubio did a pretty good job, I think, of articulating the administration's point. You guys want to hear any of that?
I don't know if probably because Rubio's been very good. I will say before we move on that my favorite part of this was after this. Massey said that Trump just declared so much war on him he should have needed an act of Congress, and
act of Congress.
That was pretty funny. Good one.
Let's
is that video down here?
Yeah, it's there. Not that one. Keep going.
There we go. There's
that
Rubio.
one. Yeah.
Let me pull it up full screen. Oh, I'm sorry, chat. Her voice.
Are we now at war with Iran?
No, we're not. This is not a war against Iran. This is very simple. 67 days ago, the president of the United States sent the Iranians a letter, and it said, you're not going to have nuclear weapons. You're not going to have a militarized nuclear program. Let's negotiate. I want to do this diplomatically. I want to do this peacefully. They tried to play him along the way they've played every American president for the last 35 years. And, the president told them, if we don't get a deal, which is what he wanted, then I'll have to handle it differently. And that's what he did last night. He handled it differently. But that was an Iranian choice. We didn't make that choice. They did. By playing games with Donald Trump, they made a huge mistake. And President Trump acted last night. And I think the world today is safer and more stable than it was 24 hours ago. And a bunch of these countries putting out statements condemning us, privately, they all agree with us that this needed to be done. They got to do what they got to do for, their own public relations purposes. But the only people in the world that are unhappy about what happened in Iran last night is the regime in Iran.
Have you heard from anyone in Iran, and are you expecting retaliation?
Well, if they retaliate, it'll be the worst mistake they've ever made. Look, we can fly in and out of Iran at will. We went in last night. The president sent our military forces from halfway across the world, went in, conducted this operation, left. Not a shot was fired against us. They didn't even know what had happened. By the time we left, the planes were out of their airspace before they finally started realizing they'd been hit. So it would be a terrible mistake if Iran retaliates. But that's not our goal. We are not declaring war on Iran. We're not looking for war on Iran. But if they attack us, then I think we have capabilities they haven't even seen yet. It would be a terrible mistake on their part. And frankly, it's not what we hope for or wish. What we want now is to ensure that Iran never has nuclear weapons. If what they want is a civil nuclear program where they have power plants like a lot of other countries in the world have, they can do that. That's the deal that's been offered to them. They rejected it. They played us. They tried to play us, I should say. They wouldn't respond to our offers. They disappeared for 10 days. And now, the president had to take action as a response.
And the response included strategic ambiguity. Can you walk us through the plan in terms of how it was deceptive? All
right. So, guys, you want to just comment on his take?
This is like punching somebody in the nose and saying, look, man, I really hope you don't punch me back.
Yeah, I think that's right. We're going to talk about some of the ways that Iran could punch us back. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's see.
I made this.
Now,
just real quick.
Oh, yeah. What's this?
Oh, this is the visible
overlay
holes with the overlay of the known facility map from 97, I want to say, is when the Israelis leaked that. So it's different now a little bit. But yeah, we hit ventilation tunnels, it looks like.
Shelter in place just announced for our embassy in Qatar. I doubt they're going to hit targets in Qatar because
but the UAE, our base in Bahrain is literally right there. So
yeah,
there is a strike. They already vowed to strike that base, so that could be why.
Am I also right in saying that they're, as far as missiles go, they're out of ones that are easily targetable? And so mostly if they want to actually hit a precision target at this point, they have the Shaheeds, and that's kind of it. Otherwise, they're just kind of lobbing in the right direction.
I don't know that that's true. I think we've seen some precision targets hit in Israel in the last 24 to 48.
Okay.
But we have not seen any attacks on our bases in Iran, Iraq, or Syria. Let's see. I don't want to do the next one. That's just the White House spokesperson. Let's see. Let me kind of take.
Medvedev.
Okay, no. Let's do Matt Gaetz first. So this is, I'm so sad to see that Trump drank that. Now, so this is the other side, and this is from the conservative. And guys, this is what I was trying to get to a little bit over the weekend when my fucking internet wasn't working for the show that you guys did. I apologize for not being able to jump on with you guys. It was very frustrating, let me tell you. And so the thing that I'm worried about as a long-term consequence, second only to potential civilian casualties by Iranian, terror responses, is a kind of disintegration of what has been a very effective coalition inside the kind of conservative movement of the U.S., with these two basically being this being the kind of dividing rod. And I think there's money, there are egos and money that are kind of pushing this to happen. So let's play this next clip.
Israel didn't kick their regime change habit with Iraq or Libya or Syria, it seems. They need another fix. But Matt, this isn't a regime change war. It's about Iran's nuclear program. I wish that were true, but it's not. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene opined that maybe Netanyahu is so feisty about regime change in Iran because he was facing regime change in Israel.
It's not being reported enough that on Thursday, they held a vote in the Knesset, and it was only by 2 votes that Netanyahu won. If he had lost, they would have had another election in Israel, and the polling shows that he would lose if an election were to occur today. That vote happened last Thursday. And then Friday, Israel attacked Iran. That's why the bombs are falling, and it seems very political.
Here's how you know this isn't about Iran's nuclear program. We aren't taking these steps to force denuclearization where the threat is higher and the leaders are even crazier. Take North Korea. North Korea's nuclear program is a far greater threat to the United States than Iran's. It is not even close. I know, I've had the briefings. I was on the House Armed Services Committee for 8 years. Iran has neither the bomb, the delivery system, nor the re-entry vehicle that you would need for any intercontinental ballistic missile to launch and re-enter orbit. North Korea has all 3. North Korea could launch a nuclear weapon at mainland United States today. And we've probably got the ability to knock it out of the sky, but Iran can't even get their bird in the air. Iran's death to America chant isn't really my bag, obviously, but Kim in the Hermit Kingdom points to U.S. cities like Los Angeles and San Diego and Seattle on maps, and he openly discusses wiping off major U.S. population centers from existence. Of course, we aren't looking to drop 100 bunker busters in the mountains of North Korea. President Trump took other brilliant diplomatic steps to constrain North Korea's hostilities. And the same could be done with Iran. But Matt, Iran has kicked out IAEA inspectors. There could be portions of their nuclear program that are secret. A nuclear secret in the Middle East. How about it? If the world is interested in a secret nuclear program in the Middle East, there is a country that won't allow any international inspectors. Israel. Israel has a nuclear weapon. Did you know that? I do. They allow no inspections. They are fully secretive and clandestine about it. And the Americans are fully aware. You know what? I don't even blame Israel for this. If they want to develop a nuclear weapon, if they had the blessing to do so secretly, I'm not in judgment of that. But to drag the world into a regime change war over secret nuclear weapons when you have secret nuclear weapons is a bit hypocritical.
This is where you're going to lose.
Yeah, there's a lot to say about that. And it's not just him, it's that entire Steve Bannon, Hodge twins, basically anybody who was willing to entertain Tate, like I said last time.
What I heard from both of them
very
was
interesting overlap.
That's all I heard.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the thing I'm worried about the most is that, I don't, so I'm not going to say I'm psychic and I know that he hates Jews or something like that, but I know that some of the people in that, and I'll probably throw Candace Owen in that bucket, hate Jews. I mean,
Yeah.
it's obvious. I mean, she's a fucking flamethrower against Israel, and you don't get that way without some enmity against, like
I honestly didn't think anyone could make me cheer for Kim Jong-un, but when he said he might destroy Seattle, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, I was like, where do I get a Kim Jong-un button?
Well, he said San Diego, and I wasn't happy about that one. So Padres are having a damn good year, and I want to keep.
By the way, if you ever wonder if Scott and I are on the same wavelength, same hat, same hat.
It's a legit camo pattern. Joe, I'm thinking about getting some pants in this pattern.
Oh, I've got the whole hook.
You got the whole get up? Oh man, we could be twinsies sometime when we go out to the woods.
Good in this environment that I'm in. So,
well, I think it's a decent all around American woodland pattern. I think just the way the Rhodesian brush is pretty good for most of America because it's pretty close to the M83 colors or M83, M81. I can't remember.
M81. What I like about this one in particular and Rhodesian brushstroke for America is the inclusion of red. If you get into the pine forests, red is there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah, right here. Yeah, 100%. Anyway, that's kind of a non sequitur. But and I would wear Rhodesian shorts, by the way. I'm just saying.
Hey, I gave all those links out the other week, sir.
I know. I got them. I got them saved.
And before we move on, I just want to make sure that we mention this because I don't know that we have on this show. I think we kind of assume that everybody's as filled in as we are. Have we mentioned the fact that like this is not just about Iran? Because if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, this is if you give a mouse a cookie of the Middle East. Because the second Iran gets a nuclear weapon, Saudi Arabia is going to get one immediately. They have to in order to ensure their survival. It's not an option. Well, and if Saudi Arabia has one, then Turkey needs one.
Saudi Arabia already has one. Saudi Arabia already has one. They have basically a call option on Pakistan's nuke because they paid for it. So anyway, I guess the thing that I'm trying to bring up on this is that I know a lot of people are out there struggling because their favorite influencers are fighting, right? And I'll be honest with you. I think this is a great example of a nuanced position being the right one because you got to be able to see things from both sides, right? Like, for instance, I'm going to disagree with him, North Korea. I would have, if this was 1990, I would say do the exact same thing that we do against Iran, against North Korea. But Bill Clinton decided not to. Let them have the bomb, and off to the races they went, right? Well, the interesting thing is that North Korea has proven to be a rational actor with their nuclear arsenal up till now. The fact that it's never been used in the wild kind of proves that, right? Now, what are they doing? Are they spreading nuclear knowledge around? Yes, they absolutely are. Iran's number one ally in developing their ballistic missile and nuclear program has been North Korea. You think maybe North Korea might have helped dig some of these bunker complexes or advise on some of these bunker complexes? You're goddamn right they are, because North Korea's got more underground facilities than probably any other country, per capita in the world. So do I think Iran can be a rational actor with a nuke? No, I don't think they can be. I could be wrong. I would have been wrong about North Korea, so maybe I'd also be wrong about Iran. But let me ask you this, Joe: if you had to put your money on one being irrational versus irrational, North Korea or Iran, which one would it be?
I would certainly call Iran irrational. I cannot bring myself to call Kim Jong-un rational.
Yeah.
But I certainly would call the Iranians irrational. That's why everyone goes, well, it wouldn't be in their best interest to close the Straits of Hormuz. It wouldn't be in their best interest to continue fighting us. They don't think like you do. Yeah. They would rather die in a fight than submit to the U.S.
It's just like the Russians, Joe. That's why the Western people were so wrong on the Russians, because they don't understand the mindset.
Weirdly, and let me peel that back just slightly, as long as we're here, because everybody hears that and they think the Western version of defiance, like they'd rather die than say, give me liberty or give me. No, No,
Yeah.
it's a euphoric thing. They'd it's more like how people think of Vikings. It's a conflict, and they get to die imposing Allah's will, which is an automatic ticket to heaven, and they absolutely believe in that.
Yeah, the martyrdom card is their trump card, right? That's a card we mostly have gotten rid of in the West, and that's the reason why we care about death, and and we're casualty adverse. I think that's about all we need to talk about with this. You know what? I want to talk. Oh, let's talk about the Ambry thing. Yeah, well, I want to talk about the Ambry thing because that kind of goes to the next potential piece of this that I think we're likely to see is the shutting down of the Straits of Hormuz, and then the last.
Waiting for this to come out this morning. I knew it was coming, so I was hoping it would come up before the show. So yeah.
Let me read it. I'm going to go down. We've kind of already talked about like the situation, so I'm going to go down to the threat update. So it says here, at the time of this writing, no merchant shipping has been damaged or seized, but the risk to Israel and U.S. affiliated shipping is assessed to be high. Ambry has noted that 5 publicly U.S. affiliated merchant ships departed the Arabian Persian Gulf since military operation. None publicly affiliated with the U.S. appear to have entered since operations. Ambry is aware of at least 5 merchant ships that were destined to enter the Persian Gulf, Arabian/Persian Gulf, but have about turned to chose to wait. At least 2 of these did not bear a public U.S. affiliation, indicating a broader concern in the market. Several U.S. flag merchant ships have gathered in UAE territorial areas. Whilst stated threat at the Strait of Hormuz has been non-specific, it's more likely that if Iran were to declare the strait closed, it would be to certain affiliations. A complete closure would be detrimental to Iran's relations with its neighbors and disruptive to the world's economy, which would impact its partners. It's assessed unnecessarily to do this. There have been no designation of a combat area, which might disrupt shipping at large. In the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, Ambry assesses that targets have not been available to the Houthis, and this explains the lack of incidents. It's assessed that they will resume targeting U.S. affiliated shipping in the region when the opportunity arises. There are few U.S. affiliated vessels transiting that region. In Ambry's 18th June threat circular and Red Sea crisis, about the Red Sea crisis, it was mentioned that the U.S. Houthi ceasefire on May 6th, only one publicly U.S. affiliated merchant ship has passed through the Bab al-Mandab. In Israel, no merchant ships have been damaged. Merchant shipping has been disrupted during port operations, during attacks on port cities. Port alarms have sounded. Operations temporarily suspended. Crews were advised to take shelter. Operations can resume within an hour of the alarm sounding. Gas facilities offshore Israel suspended operations. Joe, just real quick, remind the folks of who Ambry is and just kind of maybe take us through some of the nuance on this one.
So Ambry is the largest maritime risk assessment group. They're a security company that provides risk assessment for Lloyd's of London and some of the other maritime insurers. They provide risk assessment for the shipping companies. They will provide threat officers to ride on your ship to assist you in making good decisions. And they also provide armed close protection teams on board the ship to protect them from pirates. They've actually been highly successful in fighting the Houthis. They've done better than the coalition navy, and they actually have their own private navy. So pretty good. When they say things about that region of the world, I listen, and they do a lot of interesting things in that area. Their mitigation techniques are pretty good on there, making sure that your ship doesn't have any public affiliation with the U.S., Great Britain, or Israel. But I think that Israel's pretty good. I mean, Iran's pretty good at finding the hidden affiliations. They've been known to seize ships in that area, and that's what Ambry is most worried about: is them seizing a ship rather than trying to sink one.
Yeah. Pete, what's your kind of take on this?
I was working on those numbers. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I was working on the numbers. Sorry, something else.
Oh, anyway, so I just wanted to see what your take on, like, potential for closing down the Straits of Hormuz, and yeah.
Again, I'd go back to anything. If they try to do it, it's a justifiable declaration of war. It'll be easily taken out. I keep thinking back to what was it, Operation Praying Mantis, which Reagan did, and they're going to rattle and settle all they want to try to do that because they think they can, but they just don't have the capability.
Oh, there's yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is that Iran's got they want to put a lot of irons in the fire, and I just don't know that how they're going to be able to kind of do all the things they want to do. It's kind of like they could probably do like maybe one thing well at this point, and maybe not even well. So
yeah, as they say, they're a Xerox printer, right? 5-in-1.
Yeah,
do a bunch, but they can't really do it very well.
Yeah, well, it's the old exactly. All right, so this story is our transition story that gets us to the next. So this is about the attacks. Boy, somebody needs to work on this guy's ribbons here on this. Look at this guy's ribbons, Joe. If you saw here, roll the picture down just a little more. Watcher.
Yeah, sorry. I got it.
Look at his ribbons are sliding off.
And they're dirty and oh boy.
That's a National Defense Service, and I don't know what the other one is.
I didn't know you could get a National Defense Service medal serving in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office.
I mean, maybe they just use that ribbon and calling it something else, or maybe it's you're allowed to wear it, as a military ribbon. And I don't know what the other one is, though.
I don't know.
All right. LA County Sheriff's Department deletes post calling Iran strikes tragic after backlash. So let's just read it, what it says. LA County Sheriff's Twitter account, I guess, or X account says, our hearts go out to the victims and families impacted by the recent bombings in Iran. While this tragic event occurred overseas, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department is closely monitoring the situation along with our local, state, and federal partners. At the moment, it says show more. I don't know. It doesn't. Let's see. At the moment, there are no known threats to Los Angeles County. However, out of an abundance of caution, we are increasing patrol checks at places of worship and other sensitive locations throughout the county. The safety and security of our communities remain our top priority. We will continue to assess and respond to any developments as they arrive. If you see something, say something. Hearts go out to the families of those.
And victims. Oh, the victims.
You gotta be kidding
now,
me.
when he issued his apology, it's not for the tweet. It's for the reaction to the tweet. He thought he was going to get a better reaction.
Yeah. So they took that one down, and I guess they put a different one up. This post was unacceptable, made in error, and does not reflect the views of the sheriff, Robert G. Luna, or the department. As a law enforcement agency, we do not comment on foreign policy or military matters. The department has said it initiated an internal review to determine how the post was created and published. It adds steps were being taken to tight. Well, it's because you have a liberal who is your public information officer.
I would go deeper. I would guarantee that you have an Iranian. I don't think this is some white liberal. I think that this is.
It could be absolutely. Because like Los Angeles there's a lot of Persians live in Los Angeles. We fully recognize the words and messages we share carry weight. It stated we are committed to learning from this failure and prevent such incident from occurring. What I can't believe is they've actually gone this hard in the paint to kind of like backtrack on this one. I thought they would do a soft delete and then basically just change a little bit of the wording and relaunch the post. But The now deleted post came on the heels of Donald Trump's announcement on June 21st that the United States had struck 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. The DHS issued a bulletin under the National Terrorism Advisory System on June 22nd, warning of a heightened threat environment in the United States. DH said that low-level cyber attacks against U.S. networks by pro-Iranian hacktivists are likely. Cyber actors affiliated. You know what? That's one thing I haven't seen, Joe, is any reports of hacking attacks, as being any wider spread than normal in the U.S. since the 22nd. You got any visibility on that?
Well, I have the bulletin and a supplement to it right here in front of me. But yes and no. There were some internet issues almost immediately after the attack, but don't know if those are attributable to that. But it is young, right? Iran is still trying to get orders out. I would give it a day or two, but I'm betting you will see something.
Yeah. Yeah, they are getting orders out, right? So they are still allowed to make X posts and things like that. So, wouldn't be surprised if some of the things that they put out in their X posts are actually kind of coded phrases or whatnot to, activate certain actors potentially out there.
I'm just upset that Khomeini never read my message.
Yeah, I saw that.
I know.
Play watcher.
I don't think he responded to Braxton's either. So,
well, Mike Lee sure did.
Mike Lee got it to him.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to switch over to the Homeland threat. Just in time for this on Sunday, we get this first one. Now, we're inside the 48-hour rule, so we don't know all there is to know about this yet, but it smelled really fishy when it popped up, like literally within 24 hours of...
Only thing I'm going to point out is that I've been over the suspect's Facebook page, and there is a post that features Khomeini. So let's reserve judgment on who this guy is for another 24 hours and see what happens.
Yeah. Gunman opens fire on Michigan church, is fatally shot by staff members, police say. All right. So this may sound like, just another crazy guy going after a church, right? Well, here's the thing. You got to put these in the context of what's happening in the world. And right now we live in a world where every week there are terrorist attacks in America. Of various nature. I mean, it's not like, there's shootings every week. Well, there's shootings every week. Yeah. But I'm talking about politically motivated, ideologically motivated terror attacks against innocent people. This shooting attempt was one. The IED that was set up in North Carolina was potentially another one. Going back to the Tesla stuff, that was all politically motivated. I mean, it's like, and you see what Antifa's doing. There's a lot of stuff that kind of happens below the tear sheet that is very much terror oriented. That's just not getting reported in the mainstream news. Let's see. One church employee was injured in the shooting on Sunday. And by the way, Wasson Watch Company already has an ad. He basically said, if you run a church shooter over with a F-150 truck, you probably wear a Watson watch.
I just have to say, though, there's a lesson in this, my friends, and I don't go into preacher watcher mode very often, but I've got it right here. Do you know why? Do you know why that deacon ran over that man? Because he arrived late. And you know what? He still came even though he was late. There's a lesson in that.
Let's see here. A man clad in a tactical vest carrying a long gun and handgun opened fire in the Michigan church filled with children attending Vacation Bible School on Sunday before being fatally shot by two church members of the staff. By two members of the staff. Okay. The shooting was reported a little after 11 at Cross Point Community Church in Wayne, Michigan, which is about 25 miles west of Detroit. Left one church staff member with a gunshot wound to the leg. I talk about a badge of honor right there. It said a news conference last night. The staff member who opened fire was not publicly identified. The chief of staff said the member who was shot had injuries that were not life-threatening. The chief credited the emergency training of the staff and parishioners with swiftly responding to the threat. We are grateful for the heroic actions of the church staff members who undoubtedly saved many lives and prevented a large-scale mass shooting. The gunman was not publicly identified, but the chief said he was a 31-year-old man from Romulus, Michigan, which is about 10 minutes from the church. Chief Strong said the man's motives for the attack were not known, but it added that it appeared to be a mental health crisis. Okay, all right, whatever. You say whatever you want in the initial, mental health crisis is as good as anything, but I think we're probably going to find out more about this guy. Kevin Dorr for $10 says this is not our war to get involved with. This is Israel's war, and they pushed their chips in with all the money that the U.S. gave to the politicals. See Massey interview with Tucker about the influence that AIPAC has. AIPAC has a lot of fucking influence, and I don't like it. That being said, I don't hate the Jews, so it's kind of like...
I'll be honest, if you needed to see Massey on Tucker to know that, you've been not paying attention.
Tucker's been pretty... Tucker's been pretty outspoken about that. I'm going to say at least a good 50% of the people who are anti, war with Iran, and who come across as pro-Israel or anti-Israel potentially. I don't think they hate Israel. I just think that they are violently reacting negatively to probably the wrong thing. That being said, you're not going to find any of us saying that we should carry a sword for Israel either, because we shouldn't. We should not get involved.
To get back to the story, I will say that to praise someone that's kind of in the extended friend group, Phoenix Ammunition not only helps to get church security groups like this hooked up with training, they also in many cases donate ammunition to those groups. And they were not working with this particular church security group, but they have made overtures and have offered them a large amount of free ammunition from what I understand. So that's all kind of, he's not talking about it very publicly, but I do want to say, if you're looking for an ammunition company that would support you defending your church, Phoenix Ammunition.
By the way, let me go through and clean up, because I think I missed a couple super chats. I just want to make sure. All right, Loki LARP. Before I think we got started, gifted 5 subs to the Future Conflict. Thank you, brother. You're doing the Lord's work there. Thank you. Squishy Hunter for $5 said, so this was when we were talking about sleeper cells, Iranian sleeper cells. He says, Mamet, the time has come. Mamet says, I don't know, man. Bacon and eggs, then crushing PBR at Talladega is pretty fire. That's what I'm saying, man. I bet at least 50% of the crazies who came over during the 90s and the 2000s are like, this America stuff's all right. Mm-hmm. These people are all right with me. All right, I got our Earth is Doors for 20. I got that one already. Penis Chase Helicopter Shoots for $2 says, at what point is the tally reset? At what point is it done or even? I think most question if one action demands a reaction, the cycle never ends. Well, I mean, everybody says that somebody else shot first, right? Let's see. Yep, I got random PNW guys. This is not Libya. Let's see. Randy PMW 84 for $5 more says, so why strike now? Was Iran after 35 years or so able to make a nuke, or is this more about Netanyahu consolidating political power? Here's the thing, right? Let me just say this, and I'll let you say what you have to say there, Watcher. Here's the thing. I think Trump believes that there is a nuclear weapon. Now, I don't know if that's true, because I don't know what the Mossad has made up or has not made up, or they might actually have very compelling, photo or in-person testimony. I don't know. I don't know what they have that convinced Trump that there is about to be a workable, deliverable nuclear weapon assembled in Iran and meant we need to go now. They've been saying for years that Iran is like months away from a weapon. I think that was less about the fact that they will have one in a month or a few months, and more about like if Iran puts their mind to it, they can probably get a weapon, and that has probably gotten further and more likely ever since then. And so maybe they finally just decided, hey, we're gonna do an underground test to prove that we have the weapon, and so we need to put one together in order to do that. And maybe that's the intel they're working off of. I don't know. So I do believe Trump believes that intel to be true, because I don't think he would have done that otherwise.
I would say that whatever the intel is, just to tag on to that, also apparently convinced several other people who've been very against war with Iran for a long time, including Tulsi. I will say that the word on the street, not the word that's being shouted from the rooftops, so it makes me think it probably has a little more ring of truth to it than whatever people are trying to make people chase down right now. Well, if you look at the timing, first of all, the International Atomic Energy Agency says that 900 pounds of highly enriched Iranian material went missing. I think it was 4 weeks before the strike. And then the word on the street was that they had got experts imported in initial explosives timing, which has to be done very carefully for an atomic weapon. So that's the scoop, but none of that's confirmed, except for the International Atomic Energy Agency's saying that they had 900 pounds of highly enriched material go missing. Listen, guys, this feels relevant to me, and I don't know that anybody knows this. Do you have any idea how many countries have tried to develop a nuke? Like, it's literally any country that feels like they have their back against a wall in some way or another. Taiwan, we had to like severely discourage Taiwan from building a nuke for, I think, almost 30 years. We like flat out had to like raid their atomic energy sites. Everybody's trying to build a nuke. Like it is what it is. So the question is not, were they trying to build a nuke? Because if you have highly enriched uranium, there's only a single purpose for that. It's not used in medicine. It's not used in power. It's not used in anything else. It's only used in weapons manufacturing. So there you have it.
Yeah. Joe or Pete, you got anything on that one? All right, let's move on.
I was say that, like,
go ahead, Pete.
I was say again. Almost every nation has tried to make one or to gain nuclear weapons, and there's been one that gave it up for because George W. Bush asked them to do it, and look what happened to him.
Yeah,
not a bad point.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Let's move on to our next one. So, where are these sleeper cells that Iran has intimated that they have? Where are they going to come from? By the way, I guess there was a message was passed along at the G7 that the sleeper cells are a thing and they're coming.
Yeah, which I'm sorry, but a lot of people are saying a lot of things. That's a declaration of war. To say that I have infiltrated teams into your country that are prepared to kill your citizens if you don't do exactly what I say, that's a declaration of war. If you're a country and you say that, it's a declaration of war. That's what that is.
And I'm going to be honest. Everyone is saying, "Oh, where are they? I haven't seen anything yet." It's a little early. It's a little early.
Months is the timeline for these types of attacks.
Yeah,
and they're likely to be staggered.
Yeah, this is where you don't do it immediately because you're able to immediately raise your security level. The problem is you can't be strong all the time. So it's once all right, nobody attacked, it's been 3 months. Okay, then potentially you could have, that's when you start having these types of attacks be more likely. But, like we've talked about this. Go ahead.
I read like 2 what ifs, right? Just to kind of give you an idea of scale wise, right? All right. So the first one was proportional with what Iran was able to do. I'm sorry, what Israel was able to do in Iran in regards to smuggling drones, building the drone bases, and so forth, right? Approximately about 110 actors to do that. per scale, population wise, thereabouts would be about 3,743 actors could be used to possibly do it here in the States. That's how small. Right?
Yeah. It's not a lot, but
not a lot.
It's still a lot.
Oh, it's a lot. Okay. But so let me go back to here. Right. So, October 7th, right? Approximately 6,000 Hamas and Hamas affiliated terrorists and murderers invaded Israel, killing close to 1,200 individuals. Scale wise, that would be about 40,000 individuals crossing into our country performing that type of activity. Okay. Yeah. In the last 4 years of Biden's of the Biden administration, close to 20 to 22,000 encounters, plus another about 28,000 encounters over 4 years of illegal immigrants who came from the Middle East crossing the United States.
And again, these are just the ones we know about.
No. That number includes known encounters, known gotaways, and unknown gotaways. They have they have this formula they use and everything. So it's really it's an estimate, but it takes all that into account. It's about 20,000 is an estimate. Individuals from the Middle East have crossed into the United States.
And those are the ones that, and specifically the ones that didn't meet are the ones who paid the cartels a lot extra to not have to meet Border Patrol.
So when people
it's a lot cheaper. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You know, when people kind of poo-poo this whole idea of sleeper cells and blah 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 blah, I'm like, I can easily prove to you that 27,000 people from the area that has a very recent history to hate us, and Iranians, there were about 700 Iranians who crossed the border illegally during Biden's administration.
Those were the COTS, or sorry, it was 1,400 COTS. It was 700 that got released afterwards.
Okay.
But yeah, it was 1,400 Iranian males that were caught crossing the border.
Okay, so let's just say, what do you think the number there? Like, give me a mid range, not a high or low. Give me a mid range estimate of how many of these types of people could be waiting for orders in the U.S. Pete.
Give me 1 second. I mean, honestly, I would say about maybe 5,000. Maybe that's probably a little bit too high.
All right. So 5,000, right? Now, Joe, if you're one guy, and let's say you basically are able to come into America with $10,000 to your name and nothing else, and you're one guy, how much damage can you do?
A lot. I can blow up a shopping mall. I can blow up a nuclear power plant. That's probably going to require some more assets, but I can at least get the ball rolling in that direction. There is a lot that can be done with a small amount of money, relatively, and a dedicated and motivated person who is willing to die for his cause. These people are willing to die for their cause. They don't see the Ayatollah as the leader of their country. They see him as a divine figure. So,
real quick, just me for $9.99. Not a lot of money, but a big impact. Just thanks for the show and info. Yeah, no, we appreciate you guys for being here.
He says in the regular chats that he would have given you 20, but Apple doesn't let him do that, so he's going to give you 2 10s. So watch out for the second one.
All right, yeah. I mean, the crazy thing is Apple Apple actually takes a bigger percentage of your thing than YouTube does. So
there's another $10 one by Lost Core.
Oh yeah, right over there. Lost Core for 23 for 10 over on Rumble. So who aren't we at war with? Iran, Venezuela, El Salvador, Canada,
Djibouti.
Well,
obviously
we're not at war with Djibouti.
Yeah,
we're not at war with Djibouti. We are occupying it.
If we were at war with Djibouti, you'd know about it.
I mean, it's a tight fit. We're in there.
So
the FBI has their top men on it. Okay, top men.
The point I'm trying to make with the question I asked to Joe is that's one guy with, let's say he has $10,000. He comes to America, he gets a job, right? Let's assume he has no connection to any wider network. He's just one guy who hates America and believes in the divine right of Shia Islam and the ability for his action to bring about the coming of the 12th Imam or something like that, right? And so that one guy can do a lot. Now, figure 7,000 of them, like Pete estimated potentially, and they're connected through networks, and they're coordinated in planning their attacks, and they probably have a lot more money than that. And they're all working regular jobs in the U.S. because that's how you get you work a regular job in the U.S. like at a port facility or driving a truck or something like this, and all of a sudden you have access to things that a regular Joe would never know anything about. And then just me for $9.99 a second. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you more than you know. So that being said, if you can't do the math on that, then, I mean, I don't know that me spelling it out any further, it will help you. If you're not ready for that kind of response, then you're probably not ready. I want to get, this just came out. This is a update that just hit not too long ago. Iranian state media sources are reporting that Iran is likely to attack U.S. military facilities in the Middle East region in the coming hours. So this came out during the show, I think. There are estimated 40,000 troops throughout the whole region, including bases and warships in the CENTCOM AOR. On Sunday, the New York Times had cited U.S. officials to saying anonymously U.S. military and intelligence officials had detected signs of Iran-backed groups. Yes, the PMF forces in Iraq, which take their marching orders from the IRGC. Are potentially Iran-backed groups are preparing hostile action against U.S. forces in places like Syria and Iraq. There's also a possibility of direct Iranian ballistic missile launches on bases in Iraq, just as happened in the wake of Soleimani's assassination during the first Trump administration. But is this response being telegraphed or even coordinated with the U.S. so as to avoid uncontrollable escalation? Let's see. Senior Israeli officials assess Iran will, in one way or another, coordinating its attack on the United States, similar to how it acted following the assassination of Soleimani. This is intended to avoid an unplanned escalation and out of hope to contain the incident. Perhaps in this context, come the reports suggesting the United States already knows the attack will take place within the next 48 hours. Joe, what's your take on this whole idea of coordinated kind of response to minimize escalatory tension?
I said that was one of two options. I don't know that at this point Iran wants to do this. If Iran does do this coordinated response and we see minimal casualties and we know the target's way ahead of time again, then it means that Iran has capitulated, has essentially given up, and they're doing this to save face domestically. I don't see them doing that here. I honestly don't. I see a much bigger and more asymmetric response rather than a military one.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is if they do that kind of a coordinated response, Joe, they're basically capitulating. They're basically saying that we need to be able to bring something to our people so that we save face here.
Out on the international stage.
Yeah, but if you do this, if you allow us to do this, then we won't do anything.
We'll rein in our boys who are hanging out in Dearborn.
Yeah, the question is, do the boys in Dearborn listen? There's an interesting video.
Question. Yeah.
Right. I mean, and that's why I want to talk about who's in America that potentially could be acting sua sponte, if you will, as we say in the Army, who could act of their own accord on behalf of Iran. So this first one is we're going back to the show notes now. This would be alert America's first city to be conquered, the shocking Palestinification of Paterson, New Jersey. And this is from a little while ago too. This is from I guess this is a more recent post. I think the original post was like March. All right. What if we told you that there's a city in the United States where the Palestinian flag flies over the city hall, where Islamic prayers blast through public streets, where elected officials use taxpayer-funded religious events to campaign for Democratic candidates? Welcome to Paterson, New Jersey, once an American working-class city, now transitioned into a Palestinian ideological enclave.
Which is
where the
only to Hamtramck, Michigan, but yes.
Where the Constitution is trampled, election laws are broken, and foreign allegiances are dictate public policy. Main Street was renamed Palestine Way. City backed Palestine Day, Palestine Week. Students fed only halal foods in public schools. Islamic holidays replaced traditional civic calendars. Public parks used for religious political campaign rallies. Official partner with Hamas-linked nonprofits like PACC. Foreign trained Sharia imams read prayers on City Hall steps. Sister city agreement with Ramallah, capital of the Palestinian Authority. I would suggest to all those, Church of Satan temples, take your Baphomet statues to display it on their courthouse grounds.
Yeah. See how that goes.
Tell me how that works for you. On June 6th, the city held an Eid event with bounce houses and ballots, literally handing out toys while rallying Muslims to vote Democrat from the mic. This violates New Jersey election law and the U.S. Constitution's Establishment Clause. This isn't diversity, it's infiltration. It's not inclusion, it's ideological conquest. Paterson mayor calls it the capital of Palestine in the U.S. The city officials praise martyrs, denounce Israel as genocidal, and normalize the call for jihad. The same city raises Palestinian flags, but would Ramallah ever raise ours? The political Islam disguised as multiculturalism, and Paterson is the test case. If this model spreads, mosques will become polling machines, holy days will become campaign events, America will become unrecognizable. I tell you what, if you're not following Amy Mack on X, she's been doing the Lord's work for a while. A lot of white faces in this crowd. They don't look super comfortable either when you see all these traditional Americans next to all these jihadists that we've imported.
Yeah, it's interesting that this should be allowed at all, right?
Let's see. Let's go to the next one. 2 days after the judge. So if you were following, this is that case with that the pro-Palestinian protester. I can't remember where he's a migrant, and he was basically, they nabbed him. He went to Colombia. He was organizing pro-Palestinian.
He's a visa overstay.
He's
a student visa overstay.
And they were getting ready to deport him, and I guess some judge freed him. I don't know. 2 days after a judge ordered the migrant Mahmoud Khalil be released, he is already back on the streets in New York City, accompanied now by private security. Khalil was a main organizer for the violent pro-Palestinian occupations and disruptions at Columbia.
That is not any sort of a professional security team.
Yeah. I kind of gathered that when I saw. Looks like a mixture of former football players and maybe a former like a Palestinian American cop who might have done something that.
That's not. I'm ashamed that you thought I might know those people.
Well, I just I didn't even watch the video before, so as soon as I saw them, I was like, yeah, Joe would know those people.
That's not a racial thing, y'all. That's a professionalism thing.
Yeah, that's a come get your boy thing, right? You know, it's
come get your boy.
Wait a second. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These aren't even my, these aren't even my.
What is you doing?
All right. Let's see. And so you wonder who the sleeper cells might be. It could be illegal immigrants, or it could just be these guys. If you pull up this now, Joe, you said this footage is 5 years old, right?
Yeah, at least.
So some of these kids are
probably at high school, and this is it's an Ashura celebration. This has nothing to do with Hamas.
Well, I wouldn't say it has nothing to do with Hamas.
It literally has nothing to do with Hamas. I mean, you might see some Palestinian flags in the Shahada, but literally doesn't have anything to do with Hamas. Yeah, they're wearing green shirts, but
I mean, you don't think that
no, Ashura celebrations happen all over the world every year.
No, I know. My point is that I got the feeling that every Muslim organization or mosque in America probably has dollars from Hamas in it somehow.
Depends if it's Shiite or Sunni.
That's true.
And Ashura is exactly that. It's a Shiite versus Sunni thing. So, it's about the Battle of Karbala.
All right. So anyway, but the point is that if you're not aware, if you don't live in a part of America where you see this kind of thing, this stuff happens in America, and it absolutely draws, but it doesn't just happen in America. Surprise, surprise, surprise. It happens in Russia too. The interesting thing is that I think Russia has a bigger kind of hand on their Islamic population. They give them a very kind of tight box to live and work inside, right? And if you get outside that box, it's not very pleasant. Let's see here. Islamicized Russia, what the West doesn't want to admit. March 2025, tens of thousands of Muslims flooded Red Square for Eid prayers. Loudspeakers blasting the Islamic call to prayer in the heart of Moscow under the Kremlin's gaze. This is state-sanctioned Islamization. Putin, defender of the Islamic world. Did you know Putin is now imprisoning anyone who burns the Quran? But it doesn't stop there. He sends them to serve the sentences in Russia's Muslim-dominated regions like Chechnya or Dagestan. They're literally sending those who would defy Islam into jihadist strongholds, effectively delivering non-Muslim dissenters to regions ruled by Sharia-style governance. It's a death sentence or close to it. Islamic banking now legal in Russia. Of course it is, because it gets around Western banking rules. In 2023, Putin officially launched Islamic Sharia-compliant banking in Tatarstan, Bashkortostan, Chechnya, and Dagestan. These regions are now operate under parallel Islamic financial system, free from interest, but fully compliant with Sharia law. Putin and Pakistan united against Islamophobia. Putin has openly aligned with Pakistan and other Islamic states in pushing back against so-called Islamophobia, a made-up, weaponized term used to silence criticism, censor speech, and criminalize resistance to Islamization in the West. Putin's words in Chechnya. Russia has always been the most faithful, reliable, and consistent defender of the interests of the Islamic world. He also called Russia the best, most reliable partner of the Islamic world. I wonder if he was saying that back in 2002 when he was prosecuting the second Chechen war.
Where's Dagestan, Dan?
Yeah, where's Dagestan? He also called Russia, the most reliable partner of the Islamic world. Who enforces this Islamization? Kadyrov, Chechenya's brutal Sharia-aligned dictator and Putin's most loyal enforcer, i.e. Islamic lapdog. He runs a quasi-Islamic police state, persecutes dissenter, women, Christians, LGBTQ individuals, threatens violence against anyone who insults Islam. He once said, "We will defend the Prophet's honor. If this means killing someone, so be it." This is Putin's hand-picked Islamic strongman and the model for regional governance under Russian protection. Big picture. Putin isn't protecting Christianity. He's partnering with Islamic regimes. I don't know about that. Putin's pretty heavily influenced and invested in the Russian Orthodox Church. But that's a different story. And empowering radical Islamic warlords. While the West sees him as a bulwark against wokeism and globalism, he's importing and enforcing Islam at the state level. What do you think about that, Joe? That's that's a different take on. I don't see it the exact same way I think that this author does, but I don't feel like this is going to. He doesn't allow this to grow in Russia in a way that's going to bite him later. He keeps it very kind of ghettoized, I think.
Russia has very smartly, because they used to fund them. They know what these people are capable of. So they have kept them at arm's length and allowed limited expansion. Their war with the Chechens taught them a lesson, right? But they also try to limit the influence that radical Islam has in their nation, and they're better at it than we are because they're willing to say unpopular things and do unpopular things. They know that there's actually zero chance that these people are ever going to like them, right?
Yeah.
So they don't try to appease them. And Watcher, I saw that too, and I think that's related to the other alert earlier. So I'd say we have an Iranian strike inbound. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So Qatar just closed their airspace. Yeah, go ahead and bring those up.
And they didn't take the decision lightly. It was in the middle of like 30 plus international flights coming in and more trying to leave.
Yeah, so they're currently let's see, over a dozen inbound aircraft have been forced to divert. Dozens are currently grounded at Doha's Hamad International Airport. So yeah, I would say that's probably more likely than not that they've got a tip off from Iran that they've got some
more surveillance.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be going over. So they're not going to, and to be clear, they're not going to hit Qatar. They're probably warned Qatar that there's going to be missiles overflying them to go hit Saudi Arabian airfields or oil fields.
Or our naval assets that are at sea. What Iran specifically said on Sunday was that they would strike back against U.S. bases in the region and United States naval assets. Remember on Friday, we warned that or on our show on Saturday, that the most likely response was against naval assets in the Persian Gulf because it's the one place they can actually hit things and actually exert some control. And despite the actions of 1988, Iran has actually gotten fairly good at the naval games. So I think this is just fulfilling that. They are going to strike at some sort of United States naval assets or British and Israel. That's an interesting point, is that we didn't hear anything about Britain's involvement in the operation. Yet when Iran issued their retaliatory threat, they specifically said U.S., Britain, and Israel. And they specifically said they're closing the Strait of Hormuz to U.S., British, and Israeli ships. So what role did Britain play? They had to have played some for Iran to make that statement.
Yeah.
Even if it was just running cap or suppression, they did something.
Yeah, they basically did something that kind of signed them up for that kind of response. So, all right, and so we can continue to talk about this. We're kind of presenting the range of things that could happen in response to what we've been doing with Iran. Ultimately, we have no idea what's going to happen, and we just know that Iran's going to do something. It could go anywhere from something as benign as a coordinated strike that allows them to save some face to worst case scenario, which would be activating domestic terror assets that would allow them to strike multiple civilian targets in the U.S. And if you go back to the portion where we talked about the math on that, just one guy can do a lot. So what could 7,000 guys do? A lot more. Joe, final thoughts. Looking towards Wednesday.
I think by then we'll have gotten a better idea of some sort of an Iranian response. Your biggest risk right now is an Iranian cyber response or a lone wolf actor deciding that he needs to turn himself to 10,000 degrees immediately. So be paying attention, carry medical supplies, and pay attention to your surroundings. As a bunch of people who went to church in a small Michigan suburb learned on Sunday, no day is ordinary anymore, right? So,
yeah, that's a great point. Hey, by the way, Joe, you were talking about getting caught out without anything to eat, even if it's just like a Cliff Bar.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Pretty much when I'm in the States, and not so much here because I don't go very far from home, but when I'm in the States, I don't go anywhere with probably 2 Cliff Bars, in my car, and maybe a 1 or 2 maybe in my backpack that I have with me. So, something like that is exactly what you need if you just need calories to get home or whatever. Now, you can't carry a lot, you can carry a lot more than that, but let's be honest, how much are you going to really need? So,
and carry water purification. So
yep.
I'm in the one place in America where you can probably just drink the water from the streams perfectly fine. And Flathead Lake is the only lake in America that you can drink without purification. So that means the streams probably are too, but I don't want to risk that. I'd rather carry some water filtration with me.
Yeah. 100% on that. Oh my gosh, that's a funny meme. I'm going to share this with you guys.
Well, I'm sorry, gents. I gotta duck out. I gotta go get. I have a lot of yard to cut, and then I gotta go check eggs. So those of you who made bets on how many eggs, the egg bed is still open. Everybody,
Watcher, what's your final thought for the going into Wednesday?
There will be riots over the next several days. I will be doing Riot Watch. You should watch out for those riots because the type of lone wolf actors that we're talking about are generally mentally unhinged. And I don't think they're generally going to care what the event is. They're just going to see Americans. So those of you who generally go out and try and, shadow some of these things, if you're committed to continuing that behavior, be extra special, careful. You have an entire other attack vector.
Yeah, that's a good point. Pete, see you, Watcher.
I needed more stuff to worry about, right? So I'm just going to hunker down. We got our 13 acres. We're trying to improve upon it, and that's what going into the focus. Just kind of seeing how Iran's response kind of unfolds.
Yeah. I know we're all waiting with bated breath because once we have an idea, then we'll be able to kind of let out the.
We'll point and laugh at it.
Yeah, well,
hopefully.
Fingers crossed. All right, guys, that's all I got. Thank you for being here. Chat, you were awesome. Council, you guys blew me away. Thank you again to Blaine and Watcher, Joe and Pete. You guys make it look easy, so thank you. If you haven't done already, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, both on YouTube, Rumble. We are also on X, so Future Conflict on X. If you're at this point in the video, hit the like button. It's free. So just let us know that we're doing something right. If you have feedback on the whole kind of podcast version versus video, I'd love to hear it. Either just wait till the video's over and then comment in the comments, or hit us up over on X. Either way, I know that a lot of you guys are in the CFC fan chat. I'd love to hear in the CFC fan chat. We can go in a little more detail about it over there. So because we're trying to bring you guys a better product, and we have some things that are occurring in the near future that will allow us to do that. So fingers crossed. Hopefully, I'll have a lot more time on my hands to be able to do stuff like this. All right. That's all I've got. Thank you guys for being here. Joe, Pete, appreciate you dudes. And as always, stay safe.